The Iowa-based religious right group, The Family Leader, you're going to love this, held a forum for Republican U.S. Senate candidates on Friday. And at this group, they talked about their view of God-instituted government. God-instituted government. Church and state separation, forget about it. God-instituted government. And at this event, Bob Vander Plaats, who's head of the Family Leader, opened up the forum by declaring that at the Family Leader, they believe God has three institutions: church, family, and government. He talked here in this clip, which I think you're really going to like, about how God might stop his blessing of the USA because of gay marriage and abortion. He also talks about putting fingers in dikes, which is really a weird direction to go. Check this out.
But the Dutch boy in me says, as important as these elections are, it's like putting the finger in the dike. You know, we need the right people to put their finger in the dike. We need the right leaders to put their finger in the dike. But ladies and gentlemen, this dike needs to be rebuilt. It needs to be rebuilt. Because as we have a culture that runs further and further from God's principles, his precepts, from God's heart, it's only natural consequences that we're going to suffer. When people say to me, how can it be that in this generation we can have $17 trillion in debt ready to pass on to the next generation? Well, when you abort 55 million babies, when you undermine the family and marriage, God's first institution, and you say it can be anything you want it to be, when you trample on religious liberty in the Constitution, $17 trillion, well, now you're just talking money. You cannot run away from the heart of God and expect God to bless the country.
His finger in the dike imagery was really bizarre, Lewis, but let's put that aside for a second. Imagine that. With God's blessing, we still have 9/11, absurd income inequality, people dying because they can't afford health insurance. We have innocent people being killed by the death penalty. We're doing worse and worse in terms of our education with math and science. A tornado just killed a whole bunch of people in the South. If that's all happening with God's blessing, can you imagine what would happen if God rescinds the blessing of the United States?
Good question. I guess it would be a complete calamity. Maybe he thinks that's what's happening in war-torn countries across the globe because they don't have God's blessing. Who knows?
Folks like Bob Vander Plaats want a Christian version of Sharia law, the same Sharia law they say is evil. Make no mistake about it. That's just what they're looking for.
It seems like, at the root of all religious fundamentalism, there is something very similar to this Sharia law.
This is viewer-supported independent media. Please support our program by going to davidpakman.com/membership and becoming a member today.